Fantastic. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Broadside for Monday, December the 15th, the Like a Bird edition, celebrating the legacy of Miss Belle Fennelly. Really looking forward to this one. We have a few laughs here already. This is probably those of you that watch the show regularly know we've been bragging about how well things have been going. I think we hit several speed bumps and almost went off the road, and that's why we're 5 minutes late, which we don't usually do. But anyway, there we go. Let's get on through it. No need to hear from me now. We've already burned 5 minutes playing with the tech. So we've got some guests here tonight. Of course, we're celebrating the launch of this brand new publication, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Because of the tech, I haven't had enough time to look at it, but it is an absolutely beautiful book. It really is exquisite and a great piece of work, and we're here to celebrate the launch of that tonight. We've got some special guests in studio, Christina Smith, Ray Fennelly, and to kick it off with a set of tunes on the west coast of Newfoundland, out Pasadena way. Welcome into the studio, Mr. Daniel Payne.
There you go. So that's a couple of Mrs. Belle Fennelly's tunes there that I learned off of transcriptions from Christina Smith. And I actually don't know the names of those tunes. I think Chain and Advance, I think that actually, I think is the name of those two tunes. So there you go. Back to you whenever you're ready there, John.
Hello.
How are you, Christine?
Best kind, right? I tell you, though, those two tunes, I bet you recognize those.
Grew up with all that.
You did, yeah. That was
Absolutely.
Chain and Advance
Yeah.
from the Bill Jones set from Acafort. Thank you, Danielle. That was beautifully played. Mrs. Bell would have approved because you never played him too fast. She was always after people for playing too fast.
Actually, he was playing very similar to Mom that time. Quite frankly,
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
he was definitely channeling Belle for sure.
Yeah. Do you remember your mom saying, slow down, you sound like Johnny Durden?
Jesus, good for you. Yes, I love it.
There you go. So Mrs. Belle Fennelly, for those of you who've never heard of her, it was a wonderful accordion player from the southern shore of Newfoundland, and she used to play for dances when she was real small. She used to, she started when she was 8. Isn't that true, Ray?
Yep.
You've
Yep.
heard all these stories.
Oh my God, yes.
Mhm.
She played a long, long while. I mean, had she got to be 98, like the fellow says, she would have had 90 years of experience on her.
Yes.
You know?
Yep. She was. Her brother used to take her up to the dances and sit her on a barrel and pass her the accordion for to play for the dances.
Uncle
And then,
Pete.
yeah, and then Uncle Pete, yep, and Pete would, he never got much sleep. Your mom told me because he used to have to, as soon as he brought her home from the dance, carried her home from the dance, he used to have to go fishing with your father, with their father. So, anyways, that's a little bit about Mrs. Bell and how she started, she. This book that we got done together, Ray. Now I started about I guess 2003 collecting tunes, and the first person that I was mentioning, I was applying for money to get to go around Newfoundland and pick up some tunes from people. I mentioned this to you, and you were living next door to us at the time.
Yep.
And you said, well, you said we'll have to go up and see Ma, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you pitched it to me, what it was you were doing, I thought, well, you might as well just go to the source. And I mean, truthfully, I honestly believe, Christina, that Mom was waiting for this all of her life. I mean, obviously, she played all of her life, and like the people on the shore knew who she was and knew what it meant to her. But honestly, what you've done here with this project was not just celebrate her, but like give her total legitimacy that she genuinely deserved, right? And
She absolutely did, yeah.
and honestly, like I mean, people would ask me like, what's it like growing up, in a house with music all the time? Well, that's exactly what it was. It was music all the time. It was perfectly normal, and there was nothing unusual in that. And to this day, I mean, like I do love listening to all kinds of music, obviously, but yeah, that's part of my soul.
Yes. So now, when I applied for money for the arts from the Arts Council to do this book, which is totally gorgeous. I mean, John was not exaggerating when he said it's a beautiful book. The first thing I thought was I want pictures to be in it, and Ray's got to do the pictures, and so you did. And you found, where did you find all these wonderful pictures, Ray, that you have in the book?
There's so many people that contributed to this. It's not even funny. I mean, Ed O'Neill, without Ed O'Neill, I don't think this book would exist. And I think that you would agree on that. I think
Absolutely.
a lot of your transcriptions would not exist without Ed.
And indeed.
And my sister Catherine had a fair collection of family pictures. My sister Janet. So a lot of family stuff in there. Dot, Tom, Sharon, the whole lot of us. I mean, we're all part of that.
Yeah.
But like realistically speaking, I mean, the product in your hand, that book, and I do agree. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I will say this. I mean, it's also part of my profession, what we did here, right?
Yeah.
And it is genuinely it's a very beautiful book. It's a very important book. And like, honestly, I think that it's the kind of thing that I would like to see in the schools, to be really upfront about,
Yes, I think for sure, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's the beauty of the book has a lot to do with the photographs, but it also has to do with your wife, Beth Oberholzer.
Oh
who
my God,
designed the book.
like the design of that book is magic. And to be clear about it to everybody who's listening here, Phil, Ed, Philip Sinnott, all of these people have so much to do with preserving the music, but then preserving the vision really comes down to you and to Beth. And I mean, truthfully, like this book is a work of art. It is. I don't say that lightly. It is a gorgeous book. I love the feel of the book. I love the presentation of the book. And the saddest thing for me about the bloody book, I don't play a goddamn instrument. So, like Jesus, how rude is that,
Well, you tell a darn good story though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I wish I could play. I genuinely do, but
Yeah.
there you are.
Well, I figure what I'll do is maybe read a little thing from the book, because not only is there music in this book, but there's a plethora of stories. There's just so many stories. So my idea was that I didn't want people just to have the music. I wanted them to have the context too. I wanted them to know where the music came from and who played it and a little bit about Mrs. I want people to know Mrs. Belle like I got to know Mrs. Belle. So anyways, I'll read you a little bit about Mrs. Belle talking about the dances in Acafort. Okay? So that's page 14. Give me a second now. Okay, so this is Mrs. Belle's own words. I interviewed people and I just edited down a little bit for brevity, but mostly it's just what people are saying themselves. So, and this was from about 2003 when I was down and interviewed Mrs. Belle. So she said, there was dances mostly all the time in Acafort. It was the real place for it. Every night, for however long the capelin would be in, the vessels used to be baiting up. And then there'd be herring when the herring would be in. That's early in the spring, and the capelin's in June, and then in the fall of the year was the squid, see? They'd be there. They used to get off a bit early, 'cause they used to have people baiting their vessels with the dories, and then the captain would let the crew off a bit early and have a dance. And they'd be over then from Mews, and they'd be up from Ferryland to our dances. 'Twas nice, really nice. But you see, Acafort was the real place for baiting the vessels. And I used to be berry picking. I'd be coming out, and I'd see them all coming out of the vessels, and I'd say, "Cripes, up all night tonight." But there was nothing else to do. What could you do? But you'd be beat out, my Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. We often had 25 sets, and I was out in every one of them. When I wouldn't be playing, when the other fiddlers used to be at it. So that's Mrs. Belle talking about the dancing. And you heard two of the tunes already from Danielle. You heard Advance and Chain from the Bill Jones set. The Bill Jones set was the ones that Mrs. Belle learned in Acafort when she was playing there. She picked up the tunes from another accordion player who was playing for the dances, and that's what he played. So I'll play you another tune from the Bill Jones set. I'll play you two. I'll play you Run Through, and then I'll play you the close-in tune. Okay, so here's the Run Through and Close In. That was Advance and Close In from the Bill Jones square dance set from Acafort, as according to Mrs. Belle Fennelly. So Right. I guess Danielle's going to come back in a minute, and we're going to talk a little bit about set dancing. Because, hello, Danielle.
I'm back.
Yes. Now, Mrs. Belle, of course, loved the dances, and she was thrilled and delighted to know that they were still on the go anywhere. I think she did her best to keep it going up the shore, but I know you've had a big hand in keeping the cowhead set going.
Yeah, I've been part of it. There's been a group of people in the area that have done most of it, but I've been part of it, and I've played for it many times now, actually, which is really really cool. I played for it like a couple times growing up. We did it once in a Christmas, like I think a school Christmas concert. And I didn't really know what we were doing at the time, but I remember now that it was like the old-fashioned 8 is what they called it, and that was what people called the dance at home. There's an older dance that people also did called the set, which apparently they did in Rocky Harbor as well. And I think it's a little bit slower or something, but still trying to get exactly what that was all about. But anyway, it's just cool. It's just really fun to do, really fun to play for. And the groove, the feeling of playing for dances, which is just dancing as well. It's just thrilling. It's a great thing. I'm not surprised that people who really enjoy playing for dances and play for it a lot, in some cases live long happy lives. It's like it's a good part of good living.
It is. It's darn good exercise too.
Yeah, totally good exercise. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, playing 25 or playing or dancing for 25 sets. Oh my god!
I know you'd have to be in some shape. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
yes.
Danielle, did you ever meet Mrs. Belle?
Yes, I was trying to remember if I visited her once or twice. But I definitely was there. I think myself and Andrew Dale and Josh, her grandson, I think Josh.
Yes, Josh Ward.
Josh Ward, yes.
Yeah.
We were there together, and with maybe a couple other people as well. Anyway, so yeah, we had a little play with her, and I actually have a recording of it somewhere, but I couldn't lay hands on it before this broadcast, just to play it and see what she played that day,
Yeah.
But anyway, it was nice. It was after I had done Chain on an album, my first sort of solo album that I did there, and of course I owe many of the tunes that went onto that album, including the ones from Mrs. Belle, I got from transcriptions from you, so thank you very much for those. So anyway, it was after that, so we played, I think we played some of the tunes that were on the album as well, so we had a lovely little visit. I remember her perhaps her daughters were there, and they were telling me that they thought it was really funny. She liked to play the Rolling Stones songs "Paint It Black." Yes. She liked to play that on the accordion, and they were like kind of egging her on to see if she'd play it, like. Anyway, it was a fun time. We were probably there for an hour or a couple hours or something. It was nice. Really good.
And of course you had some fruitcake.
Yeah, probably we had something. I'm sure. I'm just remembering now. We were right next to the kitchen, of course, so people were getting stuff going in the kitchen. I'm sure. I can remember that they were. I don't remember exactly what, but probably fruitcake.
Fruitcake. I was never to Mrs. Belle's without having fruitcake. She always had it there. It was the famous.
I'd listen to the tapes and see if fruitcake is mentioned. I'll have to go back and listen to the recording.
Fruitcake indeed. All right. Grand. I think maybe we're going to get a set of dance tunes from you now, Danielle.
Sure.
And you can do some of Cowhead set dance tunes, or whatever is good for dancing to.
I thought I'd do a couple that I got from Luke Payne. Luke and his brother Calvin are a couple of great accordion players from Cowhead, and when I was kind of realizing that there was music around, even in my own hometown, I thought it was all gone, and then I realized, the people are still playing, so anyway, these were some of the first tunes that I learned, and it's great. These are the ones that they played for the square dance set, for the old-fashioned 8 at home, which sometimes called, I think, the swinging 8 as well. Always makes me think of the VLTs, the swinging bells. All right, so here we go. Whew. That's a couple.
I dare anybody to keep their feet still when Danielle's playing them. That was fantastic, Danielle. Okay, I thought next that what I do is share another little reading with you from the book, and this is about Mrs. Belle living at the Lighthouse, because Mrs. Belle was married to Mr. Raymond Fennelly, and he was the lightkeeper at Bear Cove Point. So Mrs. Belle's early married life was at the Lighthouse in Bear Cove Point, and I know Ray's going to have a bit to say about that, but. I'll read you, this is a little story that I got from Janet, Ray's sister Janet Fennelly Symes, and talking about the lighthouse. So she says, there was 2 houses on Bear Cove Point because Dad was one lighthouse keeper, and Jimmy Chidley, who I was honoured enough to have as a godfather, he was the other lighthouse keeper. The 2 houses were bungalows, one just up the road from the other. We always mingled back and forth, but there was always company, so there was never just 2 families. We lived in the lighthouse. The light itself was on top of the dwelling, so my father never had to go outdoors to do the light. He'd go up the steps from the inside. Now Jimmy, when it was his turn to take over, he would come in the house, and go do the light or whistle house or whatever. There was a big horn, and it used to blow off the whistle house when the boats was coming in too close to the land. So that was a big part of our lives. So that was just a little bit about the lighthouse and living on the lighthouse. And Ray will be here in a minute, because Ray, you were saying the other day that you were yesterday you were saying you lived at the lighthouse until you were 7.
Lived until I was 7. We moved into the Cove. I never took to the Cove. I mean, I do now, but back then it was big. There was too many people around, and it's a joke because I mean, if you look at Port Curwen, which was called Admiral's Cove at the time, so even now it's called Port Curwen. We don't refer to it as Port Curwen. It's the Cove. Where are you going? I'm going to the Cove. But there's probably like 110 people there. But like Janet was right. Like, I mean, we grew up in a place that was 2 families. Now, you know, we were practically speaking one large family is what we were. But like when we moved into the Cove, I didn't take, like every weekend I'd be beating it down to Pet out with Dad out to the lighthouse, right? And in the summertime, I lived on the lighthouse all summer long. Every Christmas, no matter any time that we could get out there, we'd be gone out there. Now, Tom, my brother, and I, we lived there for quite some time because like Tom's a fisherman. He just retired recently. So like Dad and Tom and myself, we all just lived out there. And like in the summertime, I didn't really spend much time in the Cove. And the interesting thing is like, it's funny, 1973 is when we got electricity at the lighthouse. So like, truthfully, we grew up, I mean, my formative years were really, and still to this day, I just love kerosene light. I really do. As a matter of fact, Christina, as you well know, like we lived alongside of each other for quite a few years in the Battery. And I don't know of any more romantic thing in the world that one can experience as to when the power goes in St. John's and everybody in the Battery don't give a shit. We put the lights on, put the lamp on, and put the fire in, and we can carry on.
That's right. Yeah, you can even have an avalanche here and do that.
Yes, so. Apparently you can. As a matter of fact, yes. Not to put too fine a point on it, but you did have a big bang that night.
Yes, we did. Yeah. Anyways, the show's not about that. So, can you tell us about going in the slide in the wintertime?
Oh, well, we had a sleigh, a real sleigh. Like it was very fancy, right? But Dad would just saddle up Nell, the horse, and that was the horse. And the horse, by the way, you want to talk about the lighthouse? The ones, I don't know if it made it into the book, I can't remember, but Nan would feed Nell, the horse, bread and molasses, and the horse would walk into the house, up to the kitchen, stand in the porch door, and put the head in, and Nan would cut off a slice of bread, put butter and molasses on there. The horse would take that and back out the door. Okay, like that. Truly, we had that, But then in the wintertime, we'd be going into renews. You go to mass, like Sunday, you go to mass, right? Now, if it wasn't a great big storm, that if the road was passable, you'd go into renews. You go to mass every Sunday, and you'd go in to visit, like various people into renews itself. Like Port Curwen. Fermuse, if you would, was the legal owner of the ground of Bear Cove Point. So if you look at how it's shaken out, Bear Cove Point was always part of what we call Firmew's ground. But the nearest community was Renew's. So, I mean, like, truthfully, I spent as much time in Renew's, probably more than I did in Firmew's in real terms. And in many ways, it's like home to me right now. I mean, like, when I go up to Renew's, it's home. It's what it is. It's all it is to me, right? But to your question about the sleigh, we'd all bundle onto the sleigh. And I would do this, and Tom as well on occasion, right? But we would tie our coasters onto the back of the sleigh, and everybody else would be under the blanket on the sleigh, Nan included, right? And it was always great fun, right? But myself and Tom, we'd be on the back on our coasters, basically thinking that we were having a race. Of course, there was no win or lose because you're only going as fast as the horse would pull you. But it was great fun, anyway, yeah. We lived a really rich life. I mean, what's it like to grow up in a lighthouse? I don't know. We grew up and we were happy,
Yes. Now, you tell us also about going up and down on the ladder, because for a while there was no such things going in on the road. You had to go in up and over the ladder, didn't you?
We called it the landing, and the landing is we grew up on a cliff. So Bear Cove Point is a cliff. And my front yard is a cliff. And honestly, to this day, I really do love going up and down the face of cliffs. But anyway, we had a ladder. I don't even know. I think you asked me yesterday how tall it was, and I honestly can't remember because we never paid attention to it. It was just tall, so say like 100 feet. But Dad would have a dory that he would tie off down at the landing. And at the bottom of the ladder, there was a little tiny kind of, well, truthfully, it wasn't there when I was growing up because it washed away too many times. But it was, small wharf, if you would. But that was our principal transportation. I mean, that's how we got back and forth everywhere. I mean, if you were going to go into Renews, like in the summertime, Dad would be going back into the cove, like on his day off or whatever else. We just hop aboard the dory. He'd have a Johnson 6 horsepower. And we, go on into the cove in the dory. And I mean, you go going around Sleeper's Point, you go between the rock and the cliff face itself, right? And I tell you, as a child, it was the most exhilarating goddamn thing to do. Even though now I look at it, it's like, oh my God. But when I was a kid, it was like Dad was this daredevil. He would drive the boat between the rocks, right? And of course, now you go back and you look at it and you go, yeah, everybody would really, like it's just what we did, right?
Yeah.
But that was our principal transportation. The other thing that we would have at the landing itself was, because it was a lighthouse, all supplies would come from St. John's, and they would come basically by schooner. And Joe DeLore was one of the people who would deliver a lot of the goods, right? And we had a big boom that went out over the cliff, and you'd lower down the rope basically, and then you would there was a winch, a motorized winch, and you would basically take all of your supplies for the year. The one big treat among all of the supplies in real terms was, you knew that we were getting a new battery for the radio, and the battery would last a year. And honestly, to this day, I am addicted to radio. I listen to radio. That is my principal methodology of information. I prefer radio over internet, over TV.
Yeah.
And that's how we grew up.
You and me both, Ray.
Right?
Yeah. Now, we should talk a little bit about when you came in from the Bear Cove Point, and the family moved in, and then your mom had a shop.
Yes. We moved. Mom and Dad moved us because Catherine and Tom and Dot and Janet particularly were losing too much school. And that was not going to be good enough as far as Mom was concerned. So we moved into the family homestead in Admiral's Cove, Port Curwen. And Dad and Mom had a shop there even before they moved in, and it used to be run by Pat Murphy. Anyway, when we moved in itself, Pat basically retired, and then Mom took over the shop. So Mom ran that store. Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. I can't even remember. I was long back from Toronto when she gave it up. But that shop was the heart and soul of the Cove. It was like everybody met there. Every business deal would be done there. Every rumor and gossip would be shared there. You knew everybody's business, as God is my judge. I mean, like, honest to God, like nobody could do nothing and not be known that they did it down in the cove, because it was that tight of a community, right? So Mom had the shop, but I will say this, and I think I did put that story in the book, but I'll tell you where I genuinely was shocked in admiration of Mom. When she closed the store for good, she phoned me, and I was living in the Battery, and she phoned me and she says, I want you to come up now and shut down the shop. So I went up, not knowing what she meant by that. And she said, go over there now. She said, and I want you to go through the bill books. And she said, I want you to burn them. I said, okay. Now, the bill books were the chit books, right? So this is everybody's, and it was a beautiful history. I kept a number of them just as a history of the time and place. But I went over to the house and I said, Mom, look, you've got an active file here and it's worth an awful lot of money. And she said, so what? I said, you don't want me to burn that. And what she looked at me, she said, you burn those goddamn books right now. She said, those people fed you and they put you through school. Now, we've got enough from them. And I, as God is my judge, I had tears in my eyes. I thought, oh my God, if I could only be like that, And it was amazing. Like, she was just like, she burnt a lot of money that day,
Yeah.
But as she said, she got paid fair because it was a community.
Yes, there's a lovely story in the book from Sharon about how she helped out a whole bunch of people, and you folks never knew, until the funeral, when people started coming up and saying, we wouldn't have been able to survive without your ma.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, and I mean, to really put it in perspective, we were a fortunate family. I mean, Dad had a government job, for God's sake. So let's not kid ourselves. He had a federal job. And thank God for patronage, because he never would have had the job were it not for Sir Michael Cashin, our cousin. So that's where that came from,
right.
But they used it well,
Yeah,
they used it well.
Yes. So now on the corner, on the edge of the shop there was another big room. Can you tell us about that?
Yep, we call that the jukebox. It was literally a big room, a big empty room, and Dad he bought a jukebox, which I think came from St. Pierre. There was some shipwreck in St. Pierre, and there was a big goddamn run on jukeboxes all of a sudden in Newfoundland. Anyway, Dad got one of them and put it up into the shop, and he also picked up a pool table, and that was the absolute heart and soul of the younger generation, because honestly, every single time a record would come out, didn't matter what it was, whether it was the Beatles or the Stones. And Daniel said earlier, right, talking about Mom playing Paint Black, that's not a joke. That she could knock that out like you wouldn't believe. As a matter of fact, I'm still pissed off that we never got a recording of her playing Paint Black, but that little shop of Mom's was many things to many people, but for young people, it was genuinely the place to go every night. I mean, you buy your Half Moon and your 12-cent, your 12-cent bun, we called it. You'd buy a 12-cent bun and a bottle of Coke, and put the music on the jukebox, and you were done. There was your entertainment, and that would go on all night long until she would say, "Okay, everybody, go home," and she'd kick him out.
Yes, I'm going to read another little bit about the jukebox now. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is another quote from Mrs. Belle herself. She said, I had a jukebox over there. We had a jukebox over there for years, because we had the store open then when I came in here first. And I'd be on the back of the counter, and the children would be outside, and they'd say to me, now, Mrs. Belle, close up for a while, lock your door, and come in, bring in the accordion. And then I used to play. They used to have the old-fashioned set and Lancers. They really enjoyed the Lancers, but they didn't know very much about the eights, right, the American 8 or cotillion. I had 3 weddings over there, dances over there. I played for them, the accordion music. They were people that got married handy, and they had the wedding in their home, but they had their dance over here in my jukebox. Great bit of fun when I moved in here. So that's a little bit about Miss Belle talking herself about the jukebox. So, and there's, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a picture of the same model of jukebox. Ray found this. So, and now maybe we can bring Ray back again. Oh, sorry, Ray, could you repeat that?
I have that jukebox.
You have it. Yes, I saw it in your house. Yes.
Yeah, I do. And I'm trying to get somebody who can strip it apart and put it back together. But I mean, There's not too many people doing that anymore. But anyway, yeah, I have that jukebox, and I don't have the heart to let go of it because it just made so much to so many people, right?
Yes, I know. That should be in the rooms maybe.
Well, we'll think about that. My heart and soul goes to the Centre for Newfoundland Studies up at Mon, but that's a separate issue.
Yes. All right. Okay. So I think I'm going to play another few tunes for you now.
Lovely.
This is some a lot. Mrs. Belle played singles and doubles and triples, and nowadays people call them jigs and reels, but that's not what she called them. A single kind goes deetin 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 deetin, and a double goes diddledy 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 diddly. Okay, and a triple goes digga 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 digga, and that's how you know it's the difference. So I'm going to play a set of singles for you. Okay, this one is starting with single number 11. And then going into the Banker's tune, okay? I think single number 3 and then the Banker's tune. And the Banker's tune, Mrs. Belle had a couple of tunes that she called Banker's tune because the bankers would be people that came into Aquafort on the banking schooners. And so the fishermen would come out and sometimes they'd spell off the accordion player at the dance. And so she used to call them the tunes from the bankers. So we call them the Banker's tunes. So anyway, here's a couple more tunes for you. So I guess we'll have another reading now. Okay. How are we doing for time there, John? I think John is... Maybe we'll have Ray back. We'll have Ray back for another couple of minutes. It's okay. What else can we talk about, Ray? Maybe
oh my God. You know what? Like what most people don't know, you and I both know this, right? And the family knows this. Mom would be 102 tomorrow if she was alive.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Tomorrow's her birthday.
so this is Belle's birthday eve, right?
It is. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think it's very fitting. I mean, like it's funny. I'm getting lots of texts here from people from away who are good friends of ours as well, right? And this is going over quite well here. I must say, it's a fantastic tribute to her. And again, I can't overstate my thank you to you and Beth. I mean, the two of you, I just cannot put that into any more words than maybe just as subtle as it is. Like you made it happen.
Well, you know, it was I guess I kicked the ball. I was the first person to kick the ball, but boy, you guys, the two of you picked it up, you know, right away and ran with it. So it's really, the book is really from the three of us, not just me. And I got to, and Beth did such an incredible, beautiful job on it. It's a work of art. The book is a work of art, and it's Beth's work of art, really. It's her, it's her art.
It's a gorgeous piece. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
I like I said, I mean, I said this to you yesterday. In many ways, I wish Mom was there because she would love this one, right? I mean, you know, honestly, for those of you who, when you get the book, if you look at the back page, you will see "Well done yourself," right? That'll be like on the back. Now, that is something very specific to Belle. So if you did something and you did a good job, Mom would look at you and she'd give the big clap and she'd say, "Well done yourself." It didn't matter what you did. I mean, Jesus Christ, the first time I probably ever did laundry, I'm sure she said, "Well done yourself," right? But I love that because it's her heart and soul that's in that book.
Yes, and like Sharon said, it's all about the music for Mrs. Belle. It was all about the music, and and I know when I went down, she was so delighted that somebody wanted to take this music and do something with it and play it and pass it on. And I remember the day that, I don't think you were there that day, but I brought down about half a dozen of my students. Yeah, and they got fruitcake and cheesies. But it was a wonderful day, and it was a real experience for them to go down and meet her. So that was.
She loved kids, and I mean the one thing that she was trying to do up until almost when she died, and what most people don't understand is Belle was playing the accordion literally the week before she died. I mean, she was in the home for Muse, right? And honestly, I mean, Fahey's, who are like they're more legends that we should be celebrating, as far as I'm concerned. Jean particularly. But there'd be a birthday and Mom out with the box and she'd be playing. And then we were up there that weekend. I forget whose birthday it was. She played Happy Birthday to somebody. She played another set. She was gone the next week, you know, and she went well. I mean, I'll give her that. She went on her own terms, so to speak.
Yeah.
But she loved it. Anyway, what I was about to say, because I go off too many. I hate being in the basement talking to computers. I do it every day, and I really don't have much of a context of talking to people anymore. But she really genuinely loved kids, and she really wanted them to learn the dances. And like her whole mission was, now let's get this going again. And she was really hoping to be able to pull that off, where she'd just get and teach people how to really do all of those dances. So maybe, that's the challenge to the new generation right now, is to, get them dances back again, so to speak.
Yeah. And there's people taking it up. But I remember there's one story in the book about the younger crowd, like your brother Tom, learning to do the set. Yeah. Oh no, it was the Lancers. Yeah. And there's a whole thing about Mrs. Belle saying, but the Lancers was supposed to be done slow, and we had this many tunes for it, and you had to stop in between and clap your hands for the next tune. But then the young crowd, that was not how they did it. They said it was better just to have one tune, and they did it so fast, right? So I think what she said was like, "'Tis no more like when we did it than chalk is like cheese." Yeah,
that would be her expression, no question about it. Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah. So we should say where to get this book, I suppose. I just brought a few copies now down to O'Brien's and Fred's and the Bee's Knees today. So they all have a few copies. We only had a very few before Christmas, and they're going pretty fast. So the other place to get it would be at Inshore Publications. There's a website. You can visit inshorepublications.ca, and you can order it from there. So... but like I say, they're going like hotcakes. We've only got a very few left, which is really it's heartwarming, really, that people really want to have this book, and it's I think it's going to, you know, preserve more than just the music. It's going to preserve the whole feeling of the music and what it was for and how it was used, you know, and so it takes people right from playing square dances in Aquafort to jamming with her grandchildren, you know, on electric guitars. So it's comprehensive. So
Yeah, Christine, I gotta just give you another shout out of credit for another thing too. And again, I'm going to go back to you and Beth on this one. The context of the book is something extraordinary because it's not just a book of music; it's a book of soul. Is really what it is. I mean, there's so much in that book, like between the stories, the pictures, the music. And by the way, you know, like for those of you who didn't get a slice of cake from Belle, the recipe is in there. Go make your own.
So, well, I think with that, we should probably send it back to Danielle for another set of tunes and wrap it up. John, is there anything else we should say or do?
I think you've covered pretty well everything, but since we got you all here, I think it would be great I just want to extend my congratulations and thanks for you all in participating in this show.
Yes, and I also would like to thank Danielle and Ray from the bottom of my heart because I know how busy you are, right? The both of you. So.
Yeah, it's been a great little show. A few little glitches there, but it's really been great. And I just want to give a shout out to you all and congratulations. I only got a quick look at the book, but it really is. I mean, you see these things and say, well, you know, it looks all right or it looks good, but this really just leaps out of the package. So I'm looking forward to getting one. And you can drop by O'Brien's Music, and there's a bunch of flyers on the counter where you can grab that fruitcake recipe if you don't want to commit all the way. So just to let you all know that. So I'm going to dart out of here. I think we are going to turn it over to Daniel for a few tunes to finish, and then I'll pop back in and put a pin in it.
Brilliant.
All right. Well,
thank you,
to
John.
everybody. And
Thank
thanks
you.
to everybody watching. It's been a great show. We'll see you on the other side.
Well, before I go, I should just say that I do teach accordion, and I've got, if you go to my website, danielpayne.ca, Ray, you can hop on there, and I can teach you how to play accordion, button accordion. So pop on, and it's really great to see people sign up and learn to play the accordion. It's especially when it's in their family. That's often a connection that drives that kind of inspiration. You know. Anyhow, a couple more tunes. I'm going to start with one from Mrs. Belle, and then play one that I wouldn't be surprised if she also had played. But I don't think Christina played this one, so I'll start with one of the other tunes that I know of Mrs. Belle's. Here we go.
Well, we made it to the end. Whew, that was a wild one. The Gremlins are on to go tonight. I think everything is lagging a little bit. It's kind of like a little bit of slow-mo here. But man, that was a great show. I really enjoyed that, folks. Feel free to share that around to your friends and family and anyone that might be interested. I'm sure there are many more than were here tonight, although it was a fairly respectable crowd, I must say. And lots of comments coming in there. And yes, Graham, you can get this at O'Brien's, but according to the stack that was there, as Christina said, there's a bit of a limited run before Christmas. So thank you, Rick. I appreciate it, man. But the stack is thin, Graham, so you better get down there, man. There's really not an awful lot of them there unless there's more behind the counter. And feel free to grab one of those flyers and get that fruitcake recipe, and be a great souvenir of the whole thing. Can I just bring Christina in here for one second there, if you could there, Gracie? Gracie Reed, behind the scenes, as always. Thank you so much. Christina, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Fantastic. Listen, I just want to bring you in personally, and just, the timing on this, the synchronicity was just fantastic, and I'm so glad it worked out.
Yes.
I'm glad you didn't run everybody over leaving the studio here and getting home.
I know. Yeah, that was a bit of a rush. So anyways,
Yeah.
it all worked out in the end, and it was great. But are we still on the air?
We are.
We are, okay.
We are, yeah.
So I'd just like to tell everybody that there will be lots of books available after Christmas. So
Right.
if you want to buy one, you can pick up a card with the fruitcake recipe. They're at all the stores. And if you can't, maybe they might take an order, or you can go to
We
insurepublications.com.
posted the link
Yep.
is in the chat there, yeah.
Yes, and we can mail it for you after Christmas. So if you can give people, if you want to give it for a Christmas present, you can give them a card or something and say, after Christmas you will be receiving the Mrs. Belle book. So
It is a really nice book, I must say. I'm moved, I must say.
Thank you, John.
It's a real labor of love, and I think it turned out really, really well. I'm looking forward
Thank
to getting
you.
a copy.
Yeah, it's a labor of love from all three of us, and
Yeah.
it is truly magnificent. It's a lot more magnificent than I anticipated at first, but it's no more than Mrs. Belle deserves.
Fair
So-
enough. I was saying to Ray earlier, it was kind of funny that, of course, with all the Mrs. Belle is kind of taking over the month of December. I did a post there that had about three shows for Mrs. Belle, and of course, this is the eve of her birthday, so that's just fantastic.
So.
All
Well,
right.
thank you very much, John, for inviting us on the show. This has been just great. I've really enjoyed this hour.
As I have myself. I hope everyone else has too. So we'll send you back into the green room, Christina Smith. Thank you so much, and we'll do our usual closeout. Thank you, Christina. And as always, shout out to Gracie Reed behind the scenes, pushing all the buttons, and of course our other guests, Ray Fennelly and Daniel Payne. Daniel's out in Pasadena on the West Coast, and thanks everyone for tuning in. As you know, all the usual links are in the chat. We've got a bunch of events coming up. We'd sure appreciate it if you stop by and check them out. And of course, you can always donate to the Folk Arts Society at our website. We definitely really appreciate that. And if you do find your way there through this show, please make a note when you make your donation, so we know where it comes from. And feel free to get in touch anytime, folks. And happy birthday, Miss Belle. This is just fantastic. You got to check out that book. It really is. It's a stunner, man. Absolutely. So thanks to everybody, and we'll see you next week. Oh, next week. Next week. You don't even know what's coming up next week. I don't either, but it's going to be like a Christmas miracle. It's going to be young folk do Christmas. So we've got some of our favorite young performers that we couldn't program over the course of the year due to that virus which shall not be named. So that's coming up. We're going to do a little live stream next week. That's probably going to be even tanglier than this one. So we hope you will join us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week.